Hey, bless up, bless up, bless up. What's going on? Hope y'all doing well. Hope everything's going well in your neck of the woods. Good to see y'all come in. Put some T's in the chat. Put the T's in the chat. You need to come in putting T's in the chat because we made it. We made it another day. We made it another brand new week as we kind of document time in our lifetime. And we made it, y'all. We made it. Happy Sunday to you. Hope y'all doing well. What's up, GG? Good to see you. If y'all can hear me and see me clearly, please tell me clear or a thumbs up. Please let me give me a thumbs up. What's up, B Rich? What's going on? D Jackson coming in with the T's. Put some T's in the chat. Put some T's in the chat. We didn't have to be here. You know, even though when I wake up in the morning, I wonder what glitch do my physical body have. It's crazy. The older I get, I have things that like hurt, pain, or just glitches that I can't explain to no doctors or anything. I just feel a certain kind of way. It could be, and I could just move, like I could just roll over and then something just snap or pop or just stretch. And I don't know what's going on, but that's how life be life. And what's going on with y'all? I hope y'all doing good. Can you hear me and can you see me? Let me clear. Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Good to see you today. Thank you so much for that confirmation. And we're going to start off by talking about, well, first of all, let me say this. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Eco Nation news that you may or you may not be able to use, but hopefully some of this information you'll be able to use. And just remember, y'all got to keep on growing at the same time. So let's talk about the weather. You cannot tell me whether you want to brand it global warming or whatever. You can't tell me that this weather is not for real. Because even growing up, I might have had some 100+ temperature days during the summer, but it wasn't every summer. It would happen, but it wasn't every summer. And then now the new fashion is, they say it's always, the heat index always been there. I guess we never paid attention. But to me, if you telling me it's 95 degrees, but it feel like it's 111, to me it's 111. And to me, the temperature is 111. Heat index, all of that need to be squashed. What does it feel like when you walk outside? And if y'all not staying hydrated, please stay hydrated, fam. Even when I get up early in the morning, it is hot. I'm sweating. And, you know, I got this thing called high blood pressure, whatever you want to call it. And I try my best not to use medication, but I have to sometimes because it can get out of hand. But one of the side effects from that stuff is it just, I get hot. I don't care if it's in the wintertime, I just get hot. And then I don't know if there's a true thing. Y'all let me know. Y'all put it in the comments. Is there a true thing called menopause? I don't know. Y'all let me know. But from what I heard, what women experience, I feel like I'm having hot flashes sometimes. I could wake up sometimes and I'm like, I'm just burning up. I could be going during the day in a meeting or whatever, and then I'm just like, just hot. I don't know. Do men have menopause? Y'all let me know whether men have menopause or not in the chat. What's going on, Shy? What's going on? Bless up, bless up, bless up. Be rich, be rich. I'm going through it now. Well, there it is. I mean, sometimes I could just be sitting and talking, and all of a sudden I'm just, and I remember women, when I would have meetings or interaction or whatever, they'll be like, please forgive me, I got menopause, I'm going through this thing. And I'm like, I just believe that I kind of going through that thing, man. I just came from my sign. Now, one of the most gratifying things that I would say with, after you have planted a lot of plants and you got to nurture them, and with this extreme heat, I try to get up early in the morning and I try to water. And then late in the afternoon, I try to water. Now, let me tell you, many people will say you shouldn't water at night, late evening, because mold and all that kind of. Let me tell you, fam, a lot of times I try to pattern nature. In the morning, guess what happens? There's dew. Guess what happens also during the evening? A lot of times, especially down here in Florida, rain comes about 4 or 5 o'clock every afternoon. So my watering habits, I try to do it just like how nature would do it. And I know it's different between where you live at and where you are, but I try to learn the patterns based on God's blessing and then try to emulate or try to keep the continuous process going because it's quite different. It's quite different. And like I told y'all, I've never grown in this type of soil. It's a very sandy soil, but then it also has a clay type silt. Then it goes into a true clay. And I'm used to Georgia red clay. And there's a certain way you got to plant stuff. Because if you live in Georgia, or if you move into Georgia, you think about buying land in Georgia or maybe North Florida, and it's that dirt red, that Georgia clay. There's certain things you cannot do, and there's certain ways you got to plant. And if you got something, a plant, for instance, if think about where the plant comes from. If a plant comes from South America, what type of soil content it is. If a plant comes from Africa or Europe, wherever, or Asia, you got to emulate that soil content to make it thrive because it comes native from that area. So what you have to do sometimes when you plant, even out here in this forest out here, where I'm planting, until it can adapt and build the strength and adapt to its environment, started off just like as it was in nature. Because all of this stuff came from nature. I know we got these hybrids and all this, but a plant is a plant by design. God give us the gift to kind of try to tweak it or do whatever we want to do, but it's naturally built to thrive in a certain environment. So I try to emulate a lot of that. Okay. You believe menopause? Okay. And I ain't talking about that song, Men All Pause. I'm talking about, yeah, we really going through it. Y'all talk to me. Another thing about that's going on in the news, whether you're in the country, whether you wherever you are, and this is something different. Are y'all experiencing this change with if y'all got student loans or you got these different educational loans? Have you experiencing the more intensified where they're not trying to forgive loans, they're not trying to do different things, and some of this is changing people's lives? You know, it's people that I've talked to who said that, you know, I was going to buy some land, but man, I got some student loans, and the student loans have thrown me completely off. The amount of money that I expected to pay to finance my land, now I got student loans, and these student loans I got to pay now. Even my great uncle, God rest his soul, he was on Social Security, and his Social Security got dinged, or he got less because they went back to when we talking about the 60s, when he took out student loans and they started taking it out of his Social Security. So when I tell you the government loans and these loans, y'all try to take care of as much as you can when you're young, because if you keep putting it off, the interest is stacking up on top of that, and then you're paying a whole lot more than what you borrowed, and you do not want to be later on in life trying to take care of something you should have took care of a long time ago. I know it hurts. I know it's uncomfortable, and it's so easy to say forgive or push it back, forbearance. Try your best to suck it up as early as you can and take care of these student loans, because this thing is real, fam. It is real. What's up, Cassandra South Foot and Garden? What's going on? Bless up to you. The rain doesn't care. What you mean by that, Gigi? The rain doesn't care. What that mean? Right. They ain't going away. I mean, they ain't going away. It's almost like kids, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be here from the beginning to the end, fam. They're gonna be here from the beginning to the end. So we got a lot of stuff that we have planted over these last few years, and lately we've been planting a lot more. And I want y'all to notice my background. This is the background that you're familiar with. We're starting to change a lot of the plants that we're doing. We starting to incorporate more plants. Notice we got a canopy. If you have land, where you have trees. And now let me just say this. I am biased to land with vegetation on. I'm not talking about bushes. I'm not talking about weeds or whatever you want to classify. I get it. Land is very affordable in these arid areas, in desert areas. Land is very affordable in places where it's nothing but fields, and they done had generations upon generation where they done grown crops and it's already cleared, it's already open. I'm not knocking that, but you got to understand that having land with vegetation and trees, young trees, mature trees, or just vegetation, period, it's something about having that type of land because it gives you options. I would much rather buy land and to clear the land and clear the land the way that I would like to lay it out. And there's nothing wrong with if you have something established because there's benefits. So some of the benefits, we're going to weigh the options. What are some of the benefits in buying an established homestead versus buying raw land? When you buy established homestead, you got to understand that the infrastructure is already there. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure unless it's older, it hasn't been taken care of, and you may have to redo all of the infrastructure. One of the pieces of land that we almost bought, he was a well digger. He had wells on the property. He had multiple structures. They were dilapidated. We would have to tear them down. One of them we could probably salvage. And then the rest of them, we would have to kind of work from there. The septic tanks, we did not see any septic tanks or any entry points. So the septic tanks, we figured that there were septic tanks out there. But when you buy an old raw land and it's sat vacant since the early 90s. So we're talking about land that's just been sitting there. Expect that you may have to put all of the infrastructure. But just say we got a working home, a working fields, gardens, fenced in, all of that. The benefits of doing that, you don't have to redo none of that and pay for the infrastructure. And that can be a great savings. That can be amazing savings. And if everything lays out the way you want it, and I would go that route hands down. But if you got a little patience and you got a little time and you're willing to invest in your land, I like raw land. Now, let me tell you why I like raw land. Not just a field, not just open cut land. I want trees. I want a diverse vegetation of trees. I want undergrowth. I want a lot of different stuff. And the reason why I want that is so I can carve out and create what I'm looking for. I want to do my own roads. I want to do my own paths. I want to do my own trails. And I love the fact of if I'm out here in the country, I have that buffer of woods and vegetation to keep me away from my neighbors. I did a video here recently where I was out working on a video, and a lot of you all commented and said there was guns out there. I've been around guns. I hear guns. It's not unusual for people to be shooting out there. But I'm not saying I'm right, but I don't believe that was a gun. I want you to replay that video and listen to it because it was quite different. And people in the country, one thing, if you move out here in the country, let's share this. You move out here in the country, you're going to hear shooting. It's not no different from the city. You're going to probably hear, it depends on your surrounding area. You might hear it more often because some people, they buy land and they do a shooting range and all their friends and everybody, they just do their thing. And then you got people that actually have land like out here, they avid hunters. They hunt year round, different things, depends on what's the season. So I'm not used to guns, and being from the city, I'm not used to hearing guns, but I don't believe that was guns. I don't know what it was. It was a very unique sound. If it was a gun, it might be something very unique as far as an older gun, but the rapid tap like that, snap like that, even pulling a trigger. If you have an automatic rifle with a switch on it, it's not going to go pap like that. And it didn't sound like pow. It sounded like tap. So I don't know. The verdict is still left out. And whether we like it or not, when you out here and if you decide to build or buy some land, you're not going to be by yourself. People going to come, they're going to trespass, they're going to get nosy, they're going to drive down your driveway, they're going to try to come through it. People are people. I don't know why we think that humans are not animals. Humans, for some reason in our education system, we separated ourselves from animals. We are animals. Some people say we're intelligent or more intelligent than animals. I question that because sometimes we can't communicate with other animals and their dialogue may be way better than our dialogue. I don't know. Eventually, maybe AI will figure out where we can communicate directly with our dogs, with the cats, and with the birds, and with the deers, and with the bears, or the alligators and snakes. And they may speak 15 or 50 languages in animal. And we struggle to speak clear one language. So I don't know. The verdict is out on that. I'm fixing to go into the chat because I know a lot of times I go on this little tangent, this rant. So I don't want to leave y'all out of the conversation. Let's see. People talking about the best times to water. The rain doesn't care what the temp is. It's going to rain if it needs to. I agree. I mean, and the thing is, when it doesn't rain, I think we as stewards, especially when we got new tender plants or new tender trees that we're planting, we as stewards, we water, especially in Florida. You can look at the weather report in the morning and it's totally contrary to what actually happens. And we're so used to that. So you get up and you water if it's not raining, and then you hope for the best. And if it rains, it's just a positive because the water, even well water, does not equal to the water that rains down on us from above. So I received a notification 5 years ago that my loan was forgiven after I fulfilled the loan forgiveness program requirements. Now I'm getting letters that I still owe. Cassandra, I'm glad you shared that. Not just with student loans. Have y'all noticed that people going rampant right now? They're doing whatever they want to do. Some of these companies where they would have been checked, and if there was rules and regulations that kept them in check, but now companies knowing that they can overcharge you or spontaneously charge you, or they can continue renewals even though you didn't agree to it. They got all these different, when you load these apps and different stuff like that, you check agreeing because you don't have no choice, or you already agreed to one contract and you've been using an app or you've been using a service for years, and all of a sudden you can't go no farther as you scrolling down your account and you looking, they won't even let you see it. And then you get this big old pop-up and then it says you must agree. Banks, Lord have mercy. When I tell you banks are getting gangster, they already were gangster. You can have regular checks and regular transactions, and they will strategically hold your deposits and prioritize certain withdrawals, not based on the time that you made that transaction, but they will strategically, and people say, oh, you being paranoid, it's all automated. That's a lie. Because they banking on you to do an overdraft, or they banking on you to not have enough money into your account. And if they can move this, like your check came before you swipe this or before that was supposed to come, or a bill was supposed to come out of your check. And be careful, y'all. I know it's easy to do automatic withdrawals, automatic setup payments. I know it's convenient, but right now, be cautious about that. And let me tell you this. We're going to have to go back to manual days, not only with homesteading, not only with gardening, not only with living off grid, not only getting storage power, but we're going to have to go back to the system where, you remember when we did checks, you remember when we did cash? We're going to have to gain control and be responsible about, I'm not being on an auto pay or auto setup because the banks are playing games with you. Yes, I'm going to say that again. The banks are playing game with you because of the fact of they know they can make money. They're in the business to make money. They're not in the business to just sit and hold your money. You put the money into your account and just sit there. They're in the business to make money off of your money. And whether we like it or not, they are doing more and more of this bait and switch thing. Oh, you got a transfer that you did from one account to another. That transfer, it'll sit there and sit there and sit there. And you're like, I know I done transferred and came out of the account. What is taking so long for that to post in my other account? And then I got some automatic payments to getting ready to set up. I went ahead and did this 3 and 4 days prior because I know that it takes, for some reason, they don't have no problem pulling money out your check. But when you transfer and depositing money, unless you physically do it, like go to the bank and physically do it, or maybe call in and say, hey, I need this transfer to happen right now. And most people don't take the time. They on their apps, they're doing this, they at work, they handling their business. And the app, for some reason, now technology is supposed to make it happen instantaneously, right? That's the whole point of the app. But I can transfer money and have it in my account fast by picking up the phone and getting this automation and have to go through 20 and 50 prompt tools just to talk to a human. And then when I talk to a human, I got to wait 15 and 10 minutes. This stuff is by design. It's not because they're so busy. This stuff is designed to allow them to control your revenue. And so what I'm begging you, fam, is start to pay attention. Watch out. Pay attention to your account. Look for unusual transactions. Look for renewals, that things that you might, a service that you might have bought, or app that you might have paid for. Be careful when you agree to these new apps. You hear somebody, your coworker, somebody tell you about a new creative app. It's something good, it's useful. The terms that you agree to, you might have an annual renewal that you don't agree to, and it automatically comes out of your account. And it'll be October that you did it, and come March of next year, boom, you see $70, $80 deducted. And then next thing you know, it's a spiraling process where overdraft, and then this and that, and that and this. And that's by design, fam. Everything, while we sleep, while we relax, everything's built by design. So let me go back to the chat. Let's see. Oh my goodness, yeah. All right. The original blueprint. What's up, Rain? Rain, you was here last week. Rain. All right. Okay now. I want to love you. That's all I'm saying. It was not a gun. I agree, Gigi. It was not a gun. It was something else. I don't know what it was, but it was something else. And I'm not gonna go into what some of my neighbors had said that it was, because until I get it on video, I'm not gonna confess to that. I remember when it was snowing. I don't know if you remember that, Gigi, but it was snowing, and we saw footprints in the snow. One thing that I'm not used to, I only been in the snow less than 5 times in my life, but we had 7 inches of snow in North Florida this past one. And you could see every single, I had no idea that many animals come through the land. You could see all the tracks. I thought it was so cool. I seen and witnessed things I'd never seen before. The land was so beautiful. The trails were amazing. But a lot of them I couldn't work. I couldn't walk because I learned certain stuff that you couldn't do. And it's so fun when you explore your land and explore it in different seasons. When it snows, one thing I learned, a lot of my canopy trails, because I don't like, I like having full sun trails and then shaded trails when the weather is hot, so that I can still use my trails. So I got canopy trails. I got more canopy trails because I have more heat and sun than I have cold days. One thing that you don't want to do when it's snowing like that is walk through them trails, because ice, limbs, and everything was just, I tried to walk through one time, and man, stuff was just dropping as it thawed out. So those are some things I learned, but we saw this footprint, and that was a human. It looked like a human footprint. Even the gate, even the walking area, it looked like a human footprint. But my area is known for, I forgot what they call it. It's swamp It's a little Bigfoot, but the Bigfoot ain't little. Okay, I got you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a Bigfoot. Now they say around here, what do they call it? Gigi, put it in the chat. It's a swamp something. But they say that it hits wood, and I don't know. I don't know whether it's that or whether it was just somebody out there in the woods. So, but Gigi has experienced something similar to that too, as well. What's up, Belinda Good? Stop in to say, hey, I'm going back to the yard work to beat the heat. I get it. The heat is already here right now. Stay hydrated. Please stay hydrated. Survivors, one way or another. And that's what it ends up. At the end of the day, we got to survive. At the end of the day. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate that. Much love to you. Much love. There my brother, family man. What's going on? Bless up, bless up, bless up. Bless up, bless up. Let me scroll on down. I used to work for PNC Bank. There is so much undercutting and hidden fees. It should be illegal. Witness. There it is. There it is. They can instantaneously take your money out when you swipe the card, though. Exactly. How do they take the money out quick? But when I'm got a large transfer or even a small transfer, especially if you ever overdraft or every now and then have overdrafts, oh, they like, yeah, I'm going to hold this deposit. I'm going to hold this deposit. I'm going to wait. Oh, look at him. He's swiping. He's swiping. Look at him. He's swiping. Let's hold this deposit. It's supposed to went in on Thursday, then come on Friday. Now, the weekend, for some reason, digital don't work, but withdrawals work on the weekend, but deposits don't work on the weekend. And then all of a sudden, it's supposed to come on when they bank open up. Look, we're dealing with digital. Why do my check have to deposit at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock when I know we're talking about a digital transaction? They do that because they banking on you to swipe before it's actually depositing to your account. And some of us, it's a life situation. You got to pay your tolls when you're traveling. You got to buy gas. And you know you got paid. You know you're getting paid. And then guess what we do? Well, I got to do it. And I know I ain't got the $3 in the account, but I need some gas. And I'm going to pay at the pump. And I'm going to fill it up. And I have to eat the $25 to $50. And the bank saying, way to go. Way to go, Eco. Way to do that. And we knew you would do that. That's why we helped it. And it's sad because the system ain't for you. It's for you to give and not to receive. Just understand that. Always. That's right. They will process debits instead of credits, even when the credit is received first, just so you risk overdraft payments all day long. And we talk about legislation, we talk about ruling, and banks, they need to be governed. You know what I'm saying? They need to be governed. I'm not talking about private sector business or this and that. If a company want to do this and do that, that's their choice. We as citizens make the choice where we want to do business with them, and we can control their actions by holding them accountable through our transactions. We'll take care of the governance and regulations by saying, hey, I'm not doing business with you. No, we're not going to use that. But we got to be disciplined. We got to be united. We got to move. But regulation with banks, they need to be kept checked. Credit cards, yes, kept checked. Because I remember when I was going fresh out of high school, and I was on the campus at South Georgia Tech, located in South Georgia. And it had dorms and everything. It was ahead of its time. when it was built. But by the time I came around, it had caught up with time. But on the campus, right there on when you walk from building to building, you will have a setup with a table, a nice tablecloth, and some brochures, because we didn't do the internet thing at that time. And you go fill out the brochure. You fill out, whether you made $10, whether you work full time, part time, long as you had some kind of income, they were giving us on campus $500,000 credit card. Now, back in the day, $500, it might have took you half a year to make $500, or maybe even a year to make $500. But they were giving us credit cards right there on the campus. And what ECO did, man, I want some boom in my cutlass. I want some knock in my cutlass. I wanted them punches. I wanted that amp. I wanted that Sony. I wanted that Pioneer head unit. So what I do, working part-time, going to school, filled out my name on that bit, and then next thing you know, 2 weeks to a month, credit card. Bing! Credit card. So you mean to tell me I can swipe this? I can go to what was the name of my favorite store? That electronic store in Columbus, Georgia. I cannot remember the name of that store. They sold electronics. They sold, they no longer around, but they sold electronics. It was in a mall. But anyway, I would go there and I would go look for the open box section. And when I go to the open box, I would find me stereo. Now, one cheap stereo, it was cheap, but that thing had some power to it. That head unit had some power to it. It was a Craig, just like the name Craig. Man, those radios, I used to install radios and stereo system and build boxes for people. And I made that money on the side. And if somebody had a low budget, they had that much money, I tell them buy a Craig. Because that Craig, it wasn't fancy. It was pretty simplistic. But you talking about a head unit with some power and could feed that power to the amp. Man, that Craig was pumping, man. I'm just trying to tell you. It was nice. We have to keep tangible cash. Oh, thank you, Rain. You're right. Fam, please keep you some cash. Keep you some cash on you. Because the way, if you look at other countries, what happened in other countries, it will soon happen here. There's been a lot of stuff in the news where people have not been getting access to their accounts. Banks have shut down as far as the system. They can't make withdrawals. They can't make transactions. Cards, debit cards not working. So be careful. Keep you some cash on you. When you get paid, get started used to going and get your cash. Because if you keep you some cash on you, if you need to go do something, I just went to a store last week. They said credit cards are down. You can't pay at the pump in the store. And I went later on, I went down the road, and a lot of these gas stations are owned by the same owners, even though they're different locations, different names, different areas, and especially in your small communities. If you move into the rural, you move into the area, you'll find a lot of businesses. Whether it's a restaurant, a franchise, or whatever, it may look like it's a different business, but they're the same owners. They own businesses. It could be an Amoco, it could be a Marathon, it could be whatever, but it'll be some of the same owners. And if they run into an encounter with some system issues, the same thing can happen, even though you go to the next city and to the next town. So be mindful with that too when you're out here in this country. Because the country life, you're limited on your resources, and you only have so many resources, and you got to make sure that you're prepared for anything. So here I was, I needed gas, and the next gas station was about 12 or 13 miles away. And then I need to go to, and it was in the opposite direction from where I needed to go to, and I had an appointment. So if I didn't have the cash, I've been screwed. And I would have missed my appointment. So y'all keep that in mind too. Excellent. Laugh a lot. I'm not hard to get along with. I'm just honest. It gets me in trouble. No, Rain, I don't think it's not you, because this is the crazy thing about the internet. We don't know who we are. We know ourselves. And when I first started this internet thing, when I first and this, I'm talking to you too, Be Rich, and a lot of my reluctancy with the lives. Lives are very spontaneous. Lives are very they're fun, but it's so much happening at the same time. You're trying to manage your channel, you're trying to keep the integrity of your channel, and certain things and certain topics can be discussed, and then all of a sudden you no longer have a channel. So you got to be conscientious of that about that. But then you also have people that are what we call trolls, and you don't know them, and you don't know their intent. And sometimes people can be very helpful. Like, one thing, if you ever decide, or if you are a content creator, you have people coming into the chat and they're very helpful, they're very energetic, and they just comment and comment and comment and comment and comment. And a lot of times, some of those are trolls, especially if you ain't never seen them on a routine basis, or they just new. They could be into your content, and they could not be trolls, and they could be interacting with you, but you got to screen it, and you got to be careful with it, because some of those people, they can really hurt your channel, because if they're going from channel to channel to channel like that, they have a part of what they call the algorithm. And so the algorithm says, okay, this person is connected to this person. No one asked to be a part, as a content creator, of a community, whether it's a gardening, whether it's cars, or whether it's homesteading. They look at your content, they look at your audience, and they look at your audience participation. And then they group you in other words, they segregate you into a group. And it's hard to get out of them groups now. When you're trying to diversify and expand your audience, they put you in groupings, because everybody, when you're interacting with people, it's no different between people. The algorithm is no different between people. When you sit down, you have a conversation with people. You say, "Hey, how you doing today?" "I'm doing good." And then you say, "You live here?" "Yeah, I live here." "Oh, okay. What you do for a living?" Everybody's searching for a way to put you in a category. And there's no difference between this internet. So, Rain, I have to vet you. And because a lot of the people that's in my live streams, they've been in here from a long time. And then, so therefore, it's not about you being straightforward. None of that. I just want to make sure we protect our community. We try to create an environment where we can be free, we can communicate freely, and we don't try to offend nobody. And I don't want my audience that's continuously here, I want them in a safe place where they don't get attacked or offended by someone just popping in. So if that makes sense, I hope you understand that. Swamp Thing. No, that's not what they call it. I can't remember what they call it. Maybe it's Swamp Ape. I can't remember. I really don't remember the name of it. Rain, don't worry. He doesn't recognize your profile. Yeah, I got you. I got you. I hear you. I hear you. It's possible it was dry rot just setting in. What's up, Garden is great? Bless up, bless up. Correct is something similar with my bank. I remember one time I had this was during the time where they used to do what they call not deferred comp. What do they call it? It used to be when you worked at a company, they just automatic. They didn't take nothing out of your check. They wasn't no matching, nothing like that. But it used to be a part, I can't remember the name of it, but they used to just, based on your tenure and your years of working, it used to be where they just put money aside for your retirement. So every year that you work, they put a certain amount or a certain percentage of your annual income. They would put it basically in retirement, and the company managed it. And the company had the portfolio, right? It's still the company managed, the company have a portfolio. It's still the same thing, but it was different. You didn't take nothing out of your check. There was no withdrawals. I know people would be like, that was a good time. And then what you would do after a certain period of time, like say 10 years, you might have got 5%, and then 10 years you might have got 10%. And I'm just coming up with percentages. But it used to be where the longer you work, the more percentage of your actual pay that you made, you actually got when it came time to retirement. So I was working for this company, and all of a sudden they introduced the 403. It was a not-for-profit company. So they looked at how much I had in the account, and if you had under a certain amount, they just cut you a check because I hadn't been with that company that long. So they cut me a check, maybe about $5,000-$6,000 or something like that. They cut me a check. And I remember I had this bank that I've been banking, my company bank through that bank, all of that stuff. I didn't really have no issues with the bank. And I had no idea about credit unions at that time because credit unions definitely had less fees and less all that kind of stuff at that time. So they dropped the check in there. And this was no app or nothing like that at that time. But you would go online, you would log into your account, and you would see the check. And it'll be pending state, or you'll just see where the balance has gone up, but it'll have pending on there for that transaction. And that check sat there for maybe 10 days or so. And all of a sudden, it looked like it cleared. Now, granted, if I would have took that same check and walked down to the bank, signed and showed my ID, and got the cash out, and then put it in my account, it would have happened instantaneously. But because I deposited into my account through I think I did a night deposit. And because I did that, they held that check. They put that check on hold. Now I know Gigi used to work at a bank and a credit union, I think. And she would tell me, they would call, verify the account, verify the amount, and then they'll add that amount to it. So if they can do that, tell me why it's holding for 10 days. Then they finally took it off a hold, and it already looked like the money was in my account. Then so I started using it. Guess what? No. All of a sudden, about a week later, I'm negative, and I owe them by $800-$900. And I'm like, what is going on? So I go down to the bank because the bank was out of town. So I had to go out of town, go to the bank, talk to a manager. They said, well, it didn't actually clear. It was still pending because there was a hold due to the amount. And I'm like, how does my account show that it's there? How in the world can I walk here and cash the check and get the cash? But you telling me now I'm like a 14-day hold when I already started swiping after it's no longer in the pending according to your website? Well, that might have been a glitch. I'm like, there's no glitch. The money is good. It's there. It's the same company that I be getting a check for every 2 weeks. It's the same company. What's the problem? What's the issue? So they went on and they talked about this, they talked about that. Make a long story short, I was in the negative. I had to pay like $800 and some odd dollars because my check was getting ready to drop. This was my banking. And during that time, it wasn't no internet thing where you could just transfer and change your payroll and this and that. You had to fill out forms. You had to submit it to HR, payroll, and then they had to process, and it won't happen this pay period. It's going to happen next pay period. And then the thing is, they did overdraft over the account, and then I had stuff coming out. So what I'm saying to you all, I said all that to say is, fam, just understand, take control of your finances, pay attention to your finances, because a lot of these different things will happen. And tapping this back into the land in the country, people still take checks. Some people don't take credit cards. I'm talking about when you're digging wells, when you're digging septic tanks. They don't have apps. They don't do PayPal. They do cash. They do check. So you want land clearing done. You want trees cut down. You need stuff hauled off and this and that. Have you some cash. And also get your receipt. because most of the transactions you're gonna make out here in this rural area is handshakes and nods. And it used to be okay years ago, but now it kind of leaves me with an unsettling type situation because everybody had their own thing. Imagine you meet somebody that you don't know, you wouldn't necessarily connect with. You did your research, you asked around who to use, and the people that you asked are the people that's around where you got land at. And they tell you go to such and such. That's the man to do the will. That's the man or that's the woman that does the will. And then you go to them, you call them up, you leave a message, they call you back. It sounds like they're at the house, the dogs are barking, and you hear a car in the background, and then you talk to them. Then you meet them at a grocery store in the parking lot, and you sit down, you talk to them, and then, or you go to Hardee's and you sit down, you talk to them, and then you try to get a feel of them, even though you ain't feeling them really well, but it's okay. So you say, hey, I need a will, and then you go to your property because you want to first meet them, get to know them, guard down, and you drive to your property. When you get to the property, they look at it, they analyze it, they rub the beard, they look around, they ask you some questions about who you kin to, who you with. So you got to be ready for all of that. And I realize some people ask me questions. They from the north, they from different areas. But when you're coming down here to North Florida or to the south, period, you have to not let your guard down, but you cannot judge a book by its cover. Some of the people who have given to me and afforded me with a blessing. Matter of fact, I just made a transaction yesterday. Nothing against Trump. Trump all over, rebel flag on the truck, all of that. I'm from South Georgia. That does not rattle my cage. The Confederate Revolution, none of that rattles my cage. The ones that don't have it displayed, the ones that seem nice, those are the ones that bother me. The ones that, if you like your heritage, you like I don't care whatsoever. If you flying flags or whatever, that does not rattle my cage whatsoever. That does not instill fear or concern with me whatsoever. Some of the friendliest people that I've met, and I know some of y'all might come from it, but I'm telling you my personal experience. They have had that. But like I said, I grew up in the South. So I can't be, you can't look at my journey like your journey. People understand real. When I walk up to somebody, I walk up to them as a person. Their interaction, it's no different between me walk up. I see times I say, what's up, bro? They won't say nothing. Some of them mean mug you, they look at you. I deal with people based on my interaction, based on my vibe, based on how I feel. It could be a hello or it could be a whole conversation. It really depends on me. But if you come down here, you're looking for this area, you're looking for people that's going to do a good job, you're looking for people with integrity, with values, don't get caught up in the exterior. Focus on your interaction, focus on that thing called your gut, your spirit, and divine inspiration. And you pray about that thing and you go into that thing. Because if you walk around, you can't walk around and you expect to live this life scared, sorry, and thinking poor. It's plenty of projects that I did not know how in the world I was going to afford it, didn't know how in the world I was going to be able to take care of it. But God provides a way every single time. You got to push forward. You got to move forward. Going back to situations, these transactions. When you got somebody, I ain't had no checkbook in years. So sometimes I have to make that run to the bank, find you a bank. If you're out here in the rural, find your bank that you can get access to rather quickly. Also find a bank that you can transfer the money rather quickly too. One thing I would tell you out here in the country, people don't mind doing manual processes. Now, let me explain to you about that. You go to a bank and they say, well, we don't do shared banking with that bank. They will, in most cases, find a way to make it happen, whether it's a wire transfer or whatever. they will find a way and they will take the time. Versus if you go in a big city, well, we don't offer that service and that's it. And you walk out, you go, or you might not even talk to a physical person. You know, I remember in Tallahassee during the great 2020, I had a landscaping business. I would have a check. I need to deposit a check. They wouldn't let us go into the building. I would go to the actual drive-through. They had bricked the drive-through. No longer was there a glass. No longer did you have a face-to-face interaction. Then you had these new stalls that were put in, and you feed the check through, because most of my customers were older people and they wrote checks. They didn't do the cash out. So I cut a yard, I do the landscaping on the yard, do some clearing, they write me a check, I go to the bank, and then this prompt comes up, and I deposit the funds, it scanned it, and I confirm that that's the amount on the bank. And if it's not, or if something happened, I have to hit that button. I hit the button, and I go to talk to a person, and I'm thinking they in the building right there. Come to find out, they're about 45 minutes away in another town talking to me about a transaction I'm doing now. That's the difference in the city versus the country. In the country, you can either drive in and steal a glass there, or you go and walk in. And I always say, anytime in the country that you can, try to walk in, try to have face-to-face contact, because I'm telling you, if you have the conversation, if you're not used to it, you feel like they get in your business, that's the South. They're going to ask you who you can to, where you work at, the weather. They're going to have small talk. And you be like, would you please just go ahead and get my money? I ain't got no time. You might as well relax. You're going to be behind a tractor that's pulling something. You might even be behind a horse. You could be behind anything, right? Old truck. Now, if you're out here, you're in a hurry, you got somewhere to go, you might as well relax. That's the whole point in why you come out here, to slow down and relax. And I know it's hard, but if you just embrace it, it can be a beautiful thing. It can be such a beautiful thing. Let me go back. I've been talking way too much and been ignoring y'all. I apologize. Toy, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. It's like they sit around looking for small fees to add on. When I look at life and reality, fam, that's what people are in business to do. I done insurance, I done did cars, I done did real estate, I done did medical, I did manufacturing, I did printing. Everybody, when they sit in the meetings, they're thinking about how can we upsell or how can we add more to one order. It's sad to say, even if you're patient. This one lady told me that she had a baby and they charged her, I forgot the name of it. It's like a bonding when you have a newborn baby and they placed it skin to skin. Yeah, I think it's skin to skin. She looked at her bill and she said they charged her for skin to skin. Fam, I can't make this stuff up. People look for ways to take every single dollar and every single sweat out of you. That's the goal. And you got to walk through life thinking like that. Some stuff you can control. Some stuff you got to have. If I need my cell phone, I'm going to have to subject myself to those situations. But you're not committed no more. As a consumer, you're not committed to brands or anything. You always searching for ways that you can reduce your outflow. The same way they have meetings on a daily basis, thinking about how can we get more out of this one transaction than just one transaction. We have to be intentional about looking for ways that we can strategize and look for ways that we can reduce our outflow. You're not committed to insurance companies. You're not committed to banks. You're not committed to this car loan, to this mortgage loan. You're looking for ways to reduce your outflow. And you got to be intentional about that. So the less you owe, the better. But money don't need to just sit there. That money needs to be working for you. And it's so important. And that's another thing. When you're out here in the country, it's not a plentiful opportunities to earn income. So you got to be creative. And most people out here in the country have 5 and 6 sources of income. You'll meet someone who has a garage, but they farming, they got cattle, they might be a notary public, they might be a city council person. They got multiplicity of revenue. And if you thinking about, I could go out here, maybe work for one company and be okay and do this, the wages are low. But everything around you is still the same as if you was in the city. It's not cheap to do land clearing. It's not cheap to do piping. It's not cheap to do electricity. None of this stuff is cheap. So you got to balance everything out. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to make it stressful, but you got to strategize and plan every single thing that you're doing out. Hey, Dana Springs, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. D Jackson, Radio Shack. It wasn't Radio Shack. I love Radio Shack now. It wasn't Radio Shack. Circuit City. Boom. Thank you. Circuit City. That's what it was. Circuit City. There it is, Rain. Circuit City. Circuit City. That's what it was. See, y'all don't hear the background sometimes. My friend in the background should be talking. Not the pull-out Craig. Yeah, the pull-out Craig. Pull-out Craig. Yeah, the pull-out Craig. You had to have a pull-out back in the days, especially if you had cars like mine. I think I had one of the easiest. The General Motors was some of the easiest cars to break into. You didn't have to bust no windows. You didn't have to do nothing. I mean, it was some of the easiest. And if you had enough hand strength, like I could palm a windshield, especially if it was older, and I could palm it and pull the window down just for a little crack, enough to just stick me a little clothes hanging out. Yeah. I mean, wasn't that safe? Back in the days, even you had manufactured chrome rings around your rim, or you had the hook. You go to a city, especially Columbus. You go to Columbus, man, they'll snatch out, you'll go in there shopping to the mall. You come back. So GD and I, what we used to do, we used to park the Cutlass, take out the beauty ring, and take out the hood, throw them in the trunk, and then go shopping, right? Because it get gangster, man. It used to get gangster where people just steal parts and pieces while sitting in the parking lot in broad daylight. It didn't matter whether it was night or day. It was in broad daylight. Yeah, I appreciate that, Rain. Thank you for that insight. I'm just a simple girl here out of curiosity. I got you. Welcome. Okay. I'm getting it. I'm genuine. I got you. So you're obsessed with self-sufficiency. I'm here for information. All right, just put it in the chat. We all here to communicate in the fellowship for information. I'm not the authoritative person whatsoever. We collaborate together. So that's what we do in the chat. 403B, yeah, that 403B, it changed the whole thing. And it's some good pieces about this thing, but all of it is, as that commercial say, scam. All of it to me is a scam. All of it to me is a scam. Now, not to say that some people won't come out of there lucky, but this whole retirement thing is say, you're not disciplined to put money to the side. So we're going to put money to the side for you. And for some organizations and for some government entities, you don't even have a choice. They pull it out your money. You don't even say, no, I don't want y'all to manage my money. I want to manage my own money. You work for them, they'll automatically pull it out, whether you want to or not. It's almost like Social Security. It's gangster. It's really gangster. We know, even though you're working for it, we know what's best for you. But trust me, they're getting something out of it. If everybody, you got 100 employees and all the 100 employees are putting 3 to 6% of their bi-weekly or weekly or monthly pay, that's a nice nest egg for that company. Now, guess who owns the retirement account? Not you. They allow you to be a contributor, but who actually owns the account or who manages the account, really who manages the account is the company. And the company, guess who they're going to do business with? They're going to do business with someone that handles annuities or retirement. And they're going to say, hey, we're vibing for your business and we're going to make money off of you. and you're going to get some money off of it as a company, and then we'll give a little bit what's left over to the employees. So don't get it twisted. You might get good gains, but understand everybody pulling out the pot. The company that's handling the financials, your company is getting some cheese off of it, and then you get the rest of it. So it's a gangster thing, and they'll put limitations and restrictions on whether you can pull your money out, whether you can borrow from your money. They'll put all these different things on there where they are making sure that they can have that continuous pot, so that pot won't get dry, so they continuously make money too at the same time. And those rules and those stipulations and those requirements are there so everybody won't be, when people get hardship, they just won't snatch their money out. They'll still have a nice nest egg to bank on. It's all calculated. It's calculated by design. Oh, they think you were trying to remember skunk monkey. Yeah. That's what it was. Skunk ape. So y'all Google skunk ape. I appreciate that, man. Y'all hit the likes. Please hit the likes. Hit the likes. Always get a receipt. Period. Always get a receipt. Especially even if you transaction cash out and you say, well, the system get you a receipt. And one thing I like about the country people, they will handwrite their receipt. And that, to me, makes it even more credible than a machine kicking out a receipt. They're going to write it down. And then when you look at that receipt, I'll do this too, fam. Say you're getting a well put in. They're getting a well. You talk to a well guy. You're giving them cash. Or even if you give them a check. In your notes, write down what the check is for in your notes on your check. But go a step further. Have them to handwrite your receipt. Ask them on the receipt to put the warranty. Ask them to put the date it was installed. Ask them to put what they installed, whether 1 horsepower, half a horsepower. Get them to write as much detail. That's a fat receipt. Most of them, the handwriting receipt, they're a nice little long receipt. All that empty space that's on that paper, have them to write down everything that they told you to do, that they told you they were going to do. And especially if this receipt is a deposit, okay? If this receipt is a deposit, because we're going back to old school. If they handwrite that receipt and this is a deposit, just say you got to put down $1,000 or $250 or $2,000 as a deposit, and say the whole thing is $8,000 or $10,000, right? You write down. They write down, not you. You get them to write down that this is a deposit for a total of such and such. This deposit will deduct from the total, which leave a balance of XYZ. And if they give you time frames, dates when they're coming out, when they're going to start, put that on the receipt. Have them to notate that on the receipt. And then once they finish with everything, have them to sign the receipt. That's right. Since we're doing the country thing, let's be a business minded and let's document everything on your receipt. And if they don't have enough room on their receipt, when they give you that quote and everything that's discussed as far as timelines, things that will be provided, warranties, agreements, guarantees, because let me tell you this. We had an issue with our well, and the pump wasn't working. It just stopped working. Wasn't quite sure what was going on. Changed out the switch, this and that, and we had a warranty. The guy that we did business with, who was an older gentleman, he had his stepson doing the installation. His stepson owned a well business. That's how like a spider web he can get. So what he would do, because he was well known, well received, he would come out, do the evaluation. This is what we're going to do with the well. He'll mark it, do all this and do all of that, pull the permits, do all of this. And then he'll get his son that own another well business to come out and do the work. And he'll pay his son through after you pay him, right? This can get very confusing. You'll come out, you'll see another company out there digging your well with logos from another company. Excuse me. But they all intertwine. And you'll have a conversation with the stepson, and they'll talk you through what they're doing. They'll let you know I'll be back tomorrow. They the ones you face-to-face communicating with the install. And then give you the cell phone number. They might cut down a tree for you, do a little bit of extra, lay down another widen your pad for your well. And you got a relationship now with the stepdad who actually you doing business with, but they subcontracting who own the business. And then when something happened, you might call that dude, the installer, but that ain't who you had a contract with. And he be like, well, I'm in the middle of doing something. I ain't gonna be able to go there. You need to call such and such. And then you scratching your head, you like, nah, this guy actually did the work. And I know this old man ain't doing the work. But you got to call the person that you first called and did the business with. Because that's who you got a relationship with. That's who you got a business transaction with. And now if his stepson fall out, you have nothing to do with that. He got to work it out. He got to find somebody to come out there and look at that well. See how this thing can get real kind of just mixed all up? But mentally, you have to prepare yourself for that. Now, you can get somebody from out of town who has a full business, who's not going to subcontract, who's not going to do that. They don't know the area. They don't know the soil. They don't know whether it's limestone, whether it's rocks. They don't know what's been around that area. They're going to overestimate. You got transportation costs. You got the rig coming in. You got the diesel for the rig. You're going to pay way crazy money. And it's still humans. So it's something that's still going to not quite happen quite right. And now they're going to be pissed off because they done did all this, came all the way over here. And if anything goes where they need to get a little bit deeper, they need to do this, do that, your price is going to be through the roof. So it's kind of catch-22. You really need the person that knows about that area, that knows where you're getting ready to dig a well. Because this guy, he said, oh, yeah, we dug at least about 4 or 5 within the last 3-4 months. Matter of fact, we just did. I wish I would have known you needed one. We already had the rig and everything out here. Would have saved you a little bit of money, but you got limestone rock right here, and we're gonna hit water about 20 feet. I wouldn't recommend a shallow well out here because you got a lot of agriculture, you got a lot of runoff. You also have timberland, and people don't talk about timberland. The plains and stuff, spray timberland. Some people think I moved out in the country, I'm away from chemicals, I'm away from this, I'm away from that. There's chemicals out here in the country. Farmland, you all around fields and farmland. You get these planes, crop dusters and everything. They spraying stuff. You get they spraying for bugs and weeds and all. Understand, man has screwed this place up. It's unescapable. We're gonna have to reduce the amount of bad chemicals as much as we possibly can. We're gonna have to try to maintain our area to the best we possibly can. It's unescapable. Even when they spraying and seeding clouds and rain clouds, notice rain don't smell like it used to smell anymore. Everything is different, fam. So even if somebody's doing something in another country, there's trade winds where ships used to go in. You know, you got African sand and soil and all of that comes over here every year. It's nothing new, nothing weird that man's doing. This has been since the dawning of time. That's why we have vegetation and we have seeds and we have birds that transplant seeds and fish that move different things over to other areas that's not originally here. Man has done the same thing. We are animals. We doing the same thing. So it's all good. I'm fixing to get ready to get out of here, fam. The Confederate flag is beautiful. So sad it comes with a dark history. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know, when I look at a Confederate flag growing up in the South, I look at growing up in the South as a kid growing up in the South, South Georgia to be specific. Confederate flags was a part of our everyday sight and occurrence. You go in stores, you look at cars. Shit, Dukes of Hazzard. Every Friday I used to watch Dukes of Hazzard. I did not connect Confederate with racism. Then people say you're unlearned, you're uneducated. I get it. I'm sharing my experience. But what I noticed is some people didn't have no flag. They wasn't the best people. They wasn't the nice people. And then some had flags. They wasn't the best people. They wasn't the nicest people. Someone tell me, get the hell out of here. And I got the hell out. Simple as that. Some people wore the United States flag on their cars or even on their shirts or whatever. They weren't the greatest people. They weren't the nicest people. Then I had some people that wore African medallions. They weren't the nicest people. I live with people as people. People are people. We animals. We people. I'm not justifying nothing. I'm not denouncing nothing. But what I'm saying is, if you come down here, you get caught up into that, you get all, and then you think you're gonna not enjoy the beauty of your space. You're gonna get so caught up in all of that, and you're gonna be looking for something, and you're gonna find it. And the moment you start looking for something, you're gonna find it, fam. Hands down, you're gonna find it. If I'm looking for a snake, I'm gonna find a snake. If I'm looking for certain things, I'm gonna find it. But now, if you go about your day, do your thing, cultivate your land, grow your land, and if you trespass my land, whether you got a flag on or not flag, whether you're wearing a certain clothes or you a certain coloration, we got problems because you came unannounced. And I'm going to deal with you as such. If you are invading my privacy, my space, even off the land, even in the city, wherever, we got problems. You can say what you want to say, because one thing about it, being in certain conditions that I've been in my life and being around certain people that I have been in my life, people have spit, cussed, all kinds of stuff. And I ain't talking about a certain color or a certain race. It's a multiplicity of people in my line of my previous work. And my thing is, individuals, I deal with them on an individual basis. That's all I'm gonna say on that. You know, I feel like we should have a right to express ourselves. I think our biggest problem with the fact of there's no flag that we can fly for our heritage, our race, that we unify on and that signifies us. And if we did, some of us would be scared to carry it, right? And for those who not, they just haven't got the unity to carry that on. And with that said, you know, I'm just saying, you know, everybody got to live their life how they want to. I did get here for 50 plus years by something. I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't tolerate no one taking advantage of my family. I'm not intimidated. I'm not afraid. I don't walk around afraid. I don't walk around scared. And I don't look for something that's going to make me scared. And I don't procrastinate when something comes into my space that I don't appreciate. I don't drag my feet. I address it right there. And if y'all know, y'all seen the video, if you come, you're disrespectful, or if you come unannounced, I'm going to address you. I'm going to deal with it. If I'm here in the streets, you can say all the stuff you want to say. I really don't care. That's you. And I got kids, even when they were young kids. You know what I do? I move my kids away from people that just acting foolish. Or I even go and try to vet an area. Like I'd say, just say we're getting ready to go somewhere. Y'all stay in the car. You know, as a man, as a protector, that I'm getting ready to go somewhere, whether I'm in Miami, whether we're in Tampa, Jacksonville, wherever, in Georgia, Atlanta, y'all stay in the car. We need to get back to them old days where men were men, where men don't mind laying their life down for something they love and they believe in. It used to be to the part where my dad used to say, Paul, even in front of his house down in Miami, because he knew what environment he was in. He would park outside the gate because we had to lock the gate before, and this is a neighborhood. This was not a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't good. But he would lock the gate, chain link, lock the gate. He'll drive up. We drive up at night or during the day, period. I watch him. He have his good friend Silver on the side, and he'll go and lock the gate. And what he'll do, he'll open up the gate. He'll walk around the house every night and every day when we would leave. Every night and every day. Once he opened up the gate, he wouldn't open up the gate originally. He'll open up the gate, walk around the house, check around the area, and then he'll open up the gate. And then my stepmama would get in and she'll drive and pull up. Or me, I wanted to drive a little bit. I would get up there and I drive into the parking space. Then he would close the gate. He would lock the gate. And then next step was we stayed in the car. We stayed in the car. Matter of fact, he didn't lock the gate. He didn't lock the gate until he cleared the house. So you would go in the house, deadbolt. Every time you went inside, the house would lock. We had a cage like, it wasn't a screen door like where I grew up in South Georgia. It was a gated gate. He'll get that, unlock that, open that, pull that back, metal gate. He'll get the deadbolt, get a regular, which was not a wooden door. It was a metal door, and the house was stucco and block. And we would open it up. He would go in, and you would see the lights come on throughout the house. And once he got to that last light in the bedroom all the way down, that light, he'll hit the outside light outside the door, and he'll do it 2 times, flick it 2 times. And at that point, we knew we can get out the car and we can go in the house. That happened rain, shine, every single day and night. You know what he did? He put himself at risk to make sure that the family was good. Then once we did that, then we would close the gate and we would lock the gate. If we didn't see them 2 light switches on, off and on, we did not get out the car. And if anything popped off, we hit in reverse and we up out of it, right? And that's what it used to be. It used to be where y'all stay in. Let me check the environment. Say we going to the park. Y'all stay in. Let me look. My dad taught me that. You go, you stand out there, you look and see around, you see anybody. We used to go to the beach, the same thing. He would go, we'd sit in the car, we'll wait for him to walk out into the beach, Perry Island, different places like that, Biscayne Bay, whatever. We'll go out there. He'll walk out there. He'll walk out there on the beach, on the sand. We'll be sitting in the car looking down the walk. He'll pick out a spot where we're going to set up. He'll pick that spot out. He might have a conversation or 2 with some people around. And then he'll come back to the car. He said, all right, let's go. That's just how he was. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from the way he moved. But guess what? He kept us safe. We knew we were safe. We knew when he picked that spot that was going to be a good spot. And if anything started to pop off, he was going to check it. But like I said, a lot of times we just willy-nilly just walk into stuff. And my thing is, if you're buying land, you decide to get land, don't just willy-nilly. You still won't know what you're getting into once you get here. But when you get here, walk around, do your surveillance, check out the area. Make sure that your family's safe. Don't get caught up in what they wearing and flags and all that. Deal with people on a one-on-one basis. Because some of the people, if you judge them, might be the people that could keep you safe. But I'm not saying relax or let down your guard, but you take the time and evaluate individuals on an individual basis and check them, evaluate before you let them into your personal space. And I'm not saying let them into your personal space, but limited access. Because whether you like it or not, somebody got to come on your land, dig the well. Somebody going to see how to get back there. Somebody going to see what you have back there. If you got work that needs to be done. And then we got these Amazon people that just come random. which I totally hate. I feel like that should be against the law, that people just in regular vehicles, whatever, just come to your property, especially when you're out here. That I don't like it. And there is no one consistent. It's always somebody different. And everybody have alternative motives. So it is what it is. Don't know what we are talking about, but I have a question. Anyone else escrow going up in Florida? 1,300 this year, and Powell 3 times what it was last year. Belinda, it's going to be more of that. I hate to say that, and especially because we live in Florida now. They're testing the waters too, Belinda. Just to kind of give you some insight about no property tax, and I don't know if that's going to really fly. But they are talking about having things where they're going to reduce a lot of the property tax, but they're going to find a way to get that revenue. Money is worse than sugar, worse than crack, worse than meth or anything else. Once government have budgets, they're going to always increase them. They're going to always want more. I hate that. And one good thing about Florida is property values typically consistently go up, no matter what media news thing. Now, there'll be pockets in areas where they go down, but they still don't go down. Typically, where you get these large reduction in property values, they were inflated from the beginning. And then now you see these big old drops, and all they're doing is just balancing out. People buy floodland, marshland, wetland every single day, unbuildable land every single day. They just want to be down here. They just want to be out here in this area, in this vibe. So, man, I hate that, but we're going to have to be prepared for that, and look for ways that we can reduce them in different ways. Right. Never judge someone solely on appearance. Yeah. You'll miss out on a lot of stuff if you do that. You know what I'm saying? If you think about life, like imagine you're in sales, and imagine you selling whatever product. You cannot look at somebody and say they can't afford the product you're selling. You cannot look at someone and say, poor thing, why are they here at the store? They know they can't afford them. If you're in sales, you give everybody the same level of respect and opportunity that you would with someone who looks like they got money. Because some of these people, they look like they got money, they drive up in something nice, and they broke as all get out. They ain't got a pot to piss in. And they one step away from losing every single thing. And then you got somebody who could have tattered shoes, raggedy jeans, a flannel shirt, a raggedy old truck, and could buy the whole store easily. And will buy. So I think with life, we have to do the same thing. We can't choose how people were raised. We can't choose how the environments they were raised in, but we can make a difference by interaction with one or another. The goal in the system is to divide us. If you can keep a system divided, you can conquer a system. And as long as we keep repeating that, then we'll find ourselves in the same situation, because we're distracted by all this noise. And instead of us forming partnerships and building together and building communities, as I always say, we will continue to struggle. And we will continue to try to do everything on our own, which you need it. You need a community. What banks you going to? Shy. If you have a continuous feed and everything is good, and you're not running into situations where you'll find a lot of people who struggle with this, or people who have influxes on income. And I'm not talking about poor people, entrepreneurs, doctors, people that's sole proprietors, or people who don't have a steady job. These are the people that run into these changes and the bank manipulation more than anything. And it has nothing to do with how much money they make. It has nothing to do about their transactions. But anytime you're dealing with like commission-based people who has instability with their income, they could make $10,000 1-2 weeks, and then they can make $50 the next 2 weeks. Banks see those influxes, but then they watch the continuation of your bills and your other stuff. These people are not dumb. They're smart. Now you get a structured bank account where they working for the same job, they ain't left the same job, they're getting a paycheck every week, they paying everything, they don't have no fluctuation, this and that. You probably won't even encounter nothing like that. And if you do, it'll be very rare. They don't focus on people like that. They focus on people who, oh, they work for Uber, or they're getting deposits, checks from Uber, or they might have 2 and 3 jobs, and this week this check will be here, then that check will be there. They still surviving, and over the year they could make $200,000. But I had a friend, he was a promoter. He had 6 months where he would do one event and make $60,000, and then he might have 2 or 3 months of no income. Right? And he just get, when I say no income, I'm talking very little to none. He might be doing a little this and a little that. And they would tear him up. They would tear him up because they knew that his bills continued, even though he would go and pay bills ahead. But it's certain things, like he'll do a job, like he had other business, he'll do a job, and then he'll have to deposit a check, and this check was different from, it wasn't a continuous, the same type of check from different businesses, because he had different customers. Landscaping is notorious. You get a customer, they write you a check, and then you go get a new customer, they write you a check. That one customer that writes you a check on an every week basis or every month basis, that check go through fine, go through smooth. And then you just picked up a new account, a new customer, and then they put holes on your check. Because they know, hey, that's something different. And if it's something different, if we hold it, and we know he needs it, maybe he will fight, but maybe this, they study this stuff. And a lot of it is automated, and some of it is a combination of automation and incorporation of humans too at the same time. It's not necessarily the bank, it's the customer. They look at the customer, they look at the habits of the customer, and then that's how they determine how they will manipulate their account. Might get struck behind somebody pulling their mobile home. Yeah. Tractor, whatever, all of that. I'm gonna scroll down. I apologize if I missed your comment, Walter. What's going on? I apologize if I missed your comment because I'm fixing to bring this to a close. Doug, what's going on, man? Bless up. Brenda King says, blessings to all. Have a great day. You too as well, Brenda King. You take care. Property taxes have gone up $2,000 to $3,000 this year. Electricity has gone up also and will continue. I'm just letting y'all know that. Will continue. So be ready. That's why, fam, you cannot fall in love with this stuff. Don't fall in love with this stuff. And if you need, let me tell you, I don't want to. Land paid for cash. I don't want to sell my land. I don't want to get off my land. I would try my best not to. But before I lose it, I would get rid of it. Don't get so married to the part where you fight and you fight. I've done that before. Fought so hard and pieced stuff together, and I end up losing it. And now I got nothing to show for out the deal. So be wise. Move accordingly. Take care, y'all. Y'all stay blessed. I appreciate you. I was referring to where you don't have staff that you can communicate with. Okay. That was a credit union. I don't want to call them out, but it's a good credit union, and especially good to entrepreneurs. because you can get in at an entry level. I didn't have the greatest experiences sometimes, but that's with anything, and especially when you have such a active account as I had at that time. But what's being done there is no thing unusual with what's going on. They probably had the revenue and was on the edge of technology, but that was in 2020. So I know other banks are doing. Matter of fact, it's no different between you going to an ATM. But an ATM, you just don't have that interaction with people. But I would get a check, and I would have about 5 or 6 checks. I just say this was Friday. I did five yards. I'm driving up to the bank. Like I said, during that time, you couldn't go in the buildings unless you had to go into a building, and you had to have an appointment. And during that time, plexiglass and everything was all around, and you had to have an appointment. But your regular transactions. So I would take the checks. I take the 5 or 6 or 7 checks, and I would go in there where it used to be this vacuum that goes and goes. Now they got these machines, and I would go and hit the prompt too, and then I put all my checks in at once. It'll grab it, take the checks, scan them. You hit scan, and then it'll show all 5 or 6 checks on the screen or 2 screens, and then everyone where it showed the right amount, it will have the check, the picture of the check, a scanning picture of the check, and it'll have the amount on what it read. And if it was different, you clicked on that check and you changed the number. If it was right, all you had to do is just click confirm on each check, and then it will automatically, boom, go in there, and you'll see your balance go up right there. But don't swipe your card, because it'll tell you that money there, but it was a hole because they were checks. Now, some checks come through faster, some checks come through after. But what I would have to do is go on my laptop and look and confirm whether it was in pending state or already processed. All the process mean that money was there. And on the ledger, it'll show current available balance, pending balance. But sometimes people look at the pending balance and think that's your money. Your money in there, you're good. No, pay attention. I'm just saying, pay attention, fam. That's all. Summer Cannon, how you doing? Many blessings to you too as well. Y'all, take care, stay well, be alert, be wise, move accordingly, and don't judge a book by its cover, y'all. Y'all stay well, stay blessed, and don't forget, whatever you do, don't forget to keep on growing. Grow. Y'all stay well. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you.